Hey everybody, Jason here, and welcome to another episode of Driver's Paddock. Today we're at the legendary Canadian Tire Motorsports Park Grand Prix track, and this track boasts the highest average speed of any track in North America. Next to me is my 2024 Subaru BRZ TS, and yes, it's mine. And if you've been following my channel, you know that I actually have a 2023 Gen 2 BRZ that I won a Time Attack Championship in. I've driven the GR86, I've driven modified versions of all the cars, so I feel like I'm the perfect person to tell you if the TS is worth it or not. Let's take a closer look at my bone stock TS before we full send it on track. Let's go. So everybody, we just finished the first session in the BRZ and it was a lot of fun. And I just want to mention a few things. First thing is, although this car has upgraded dampers from factory, the Hitachi dampers, it does not have stiffer spring rates and it does not have upgraded sway bars or anything like that. It's just the damper. And so the car is still really soft. It does roll over quite a lot. And if you take a look at the tire right now, I'm currently at 38 hot. And if you look at the amount of tire rollover, there's no way I can drop the pressures down. And that's the thing with a stock car like this, with soft suspension, with no camber, of course it's going to behave like this. And so let's just go out there, have fun. We've already done a 142. I think I can probably break into the high 39s or low 40s, but we'll have to see. Let's get a good exit here. The tires are like
I
so
feel like
bad.
They gave up a while ago.
But yeah, man.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
You really, you really go for the limit, eh?
What do you mean? Yeah,
You're putting
I
it
guess
on
so.
the limit for sure. So a lot of movement for, I feel like, a relatively low movement track.
The car is so predictable though, right? It's
controllable. I mean, you're doing a good job managing
the tire.
traction, but yeah, the tires, I don't even think it's the wear. They're just so soft.
Yeah, and the suspension's so soft. I need camber, right? Like camber.
Yeah. Oh, there's a stock camber, right?
It's stock everything.
Oh, your tires are fucked, man.
No, it's literally like as it came from the showroom.
No, but I'm saying like they're gonna die pretty soon.
Oh, of course. That's why I'm only doing 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah.
So everybody, we are having an absolute blast at Ontario Time Attack School, and shout out to my student Demi, who is also doing amazing. If you want to learn from me or other amazing instructors, check out Ontario Time Attack School. Let's talk about the BRZ. First things first. I'm not a biased person. I've reviewed a lot of cars. I know I own 2 Gen 2 BRZs, but there's a few things I don't like. First off, the rev hang. It's not as bad as like a current gen Civic Si. However, on the street, you do have to be pretty deliberate with your shifts, and you do have to wait for the revs to fall a little bit to get really smooth shifts. I wish that was better. Hopefully someone can tune that out or someone has a solution, but I wish that was fixed. Next, the power steering. When you load up the tires or when the car is in a slide, there are some times where the power steering just can't keep up, and that's unfortunate, right? This car is so sharp, it's so balanced. I wish the power steering was just a little bit better. Next, let's talk about sort of TS things. This car doesn't have the aluminum knuckles that my other Gen 2 has. It has steel knuckles. I think that's probably because of the damper or something, some clearance issues or whatever the reason may be. But I do feel like this car has slightly better steering feel and response than my other BRZ. I'll have to drive them back to back to really give you a good answer. However, that's my initial impression. I'm like, the steering is actually pretty good. So everybody, it's actually the day after the track day, and I actually drove my white BRZ back to back with this one. And the TS things in this car that are a little bit gimmicky, of course, the red SCI start-stop button, the SCI startup screen, the badging, the red BRZ logo in the headlight. I know those things are a little bit silly, but I think it actually does make the car a little bit more special, even though, again, it's a little bit gimmicky. But the 2 things we really need to talk about are, number 1, the Brembos, number 2, the Hitachi dampers. When it comes to the Brembos, well, first off, they look amazing on the car. But BBKs don't really necessarily help with raw braking performance, like in the time attack setting. They're there for more heat dissipation, reducing brake fade, that sort of thing. And my white car currently has endless ME22 pads with endless fluid, and those far outperform the stock pad with the stock fluid in this car. But that's not to say that the stock setup is not great. It has really good pedal feel, really good modulation, and there was virtually no fade. But of course, we were at a track like Mosport GP where there's a lot of sweepers, only one really big braking zone at the bottom of 5, but virtually I had no fade, and the brakes were really good. The biggest problem I had was just managing the tire and the rollover with the stock camper. So the brakes are amazing, and I'm sure that once I put some really good fluid and put some endless pads in there as well, it's going to be even better. But right now, like I said, of course, the pad compound and the fluids matter much more than the actual caliper. We're not doing crazy endurance racing or anything like that. So everybody, let's talk the Hitachi dampers. First off, I do like the suspension in the non-TS model more, and let me attempt to explain why. First off, Subaru and STI did not change the spring rates or the sway bars in the TS model. They only changed damping. Now, when you're changing damping, you need to understand, what your goal is. What are you trying to accomplish? And, say for example, if you have understeer on corner entry or if you have oversteer on corner exit, you can play with damping to help with that. But damping doesn't change spring rates. It doesn't change sway bars. The underlying handling characteristic of the car will still be present. You're just slowing down or speeding up when compression or when rebound in the suspension happens. And so what STI has done, what I feel, is that they have made the low speed compression very resistant to compression, and they have sped up the rebound. In the front, they've actually went with a 2-valve design, one for high speed and one for low speed. Low speed is the braking, the acceleration, shifting weight to the rear, turning left, turning right, anything with low piston speed. High speed is like taking curbs, bumps, anything with high piston speed. They did that in the front. In the rear, there's only one damping curve. They only revalved them. There's no high speed or low speed valves. And so back to what I was saying before, it's resistant to compression, and when it does compress, it rebounds very quickly. And as such, let's say in the entry phase of the corner, when I brake, I don't feel like I can load up the front well enough. And so when I do load it up, it rebounds very fast. And so the TS model does have more entry understeer, and you need to manage it. However, because it rebounds so quickly, in the mid-corner phase, I feel like the car is very, very balanced. And when you get back onto the accelerator pedal, you don't shift as much weight to the rear axle, and the front end doesn't unload as much. And so you can get these really nice 4-wheel slides. It is a little bit more oversteer happy on exits, but it does understeer on entry. Also, the high-speed damping I don't think is very good. It doesn't handle the high-speed bumps very well. Even in bumps in turn 1 and turn 3, or trying to take a little bit of curb, it really unsettles the car. You have to be super, super smooth with the TS. In the white car, because it does compress more and it does rebound more slowly, when you're in the entry phase of the corner, you can really use the brake pedal to manage the front end and manage all the understeer. And then in the mid-corner phase, BRZs are going to be very, very balanced. When you get back on throttle, it does shift more weight to the rear end, right? You load up the rear. You can get on the power a little bit more aggressively, but think about this. When you load up the rear, technically you're also unloading the front. So the BRZ, the white model, the non-TS model, it does have a little bit of exit understeer at the very, very, very limit. Unless you're extremely aggressive with your steering and with your throttle inputs, you can of course get it to slide. But if we're talking about grip driving, trying to go as fast as we possibly can, the black TS model has more entry understeer, but has more exit oversteer. The white non-TS model has a better entry, but it does have slight manageable, very manageable understeer on the exits. And so I see what STI is trying to do. I see the tuning and the damping changes that they've made. However, the rebound is way too fast for the spring rate in this car. Like, you need the car to compress a little bit more, and you need to slow down the rebound a little bit, because it just bounces you to the moon, especially any of those high speed bumps that you take. It just really, really unsettles the car. And then when you're trying to load up the front, it just springs up a little bit too quickly. I actually do think that the white car, probably, if I were to drive both back to back as fast as I possibly can with the same tire, same alignment, I think the white one would be faster. But the black TS model might be a little bit more fun, but it is a little bit more of a handful, and you got to be smoother with the black car than you do with the white car, because things just happen very quickly. The rebound happens very quickly. The compression virtually, doesn't happen very well, because think about it, this is a lower horsepower car, and at a high speed track like GP, again, you're not going to be braking hard. So the thing is, you really need to consider what the BRZ is. It is low horsepower rear wheel drive, and the thing is, momentum and carrying speed on the entry phase of the corner is really important for this car, because you want to carry that speed in the entry, mid corner, and the exit. And you don't really want to slow the car down a lot and take late apexes, like with cars with a lot of horsepower that lean a lot on the horsepower to go fast. This car is light and nimble. And so if you really need to back off the entry speeds because the front end is skittish, because the front end doesn't load up well, it's going to be slower. So that's why I think the white car is actually going to be faster. And so stay tuned for another video where I take both cars to the track, try to go as fast as I can with the same tire, same pads, same fluids, and we'll know sort of once and for all. But I really feel like the black one is a little bit more of a fun setup, although it can't handle bumps very well at all. and the white one is more of a balance setup, more of a go fast setup actually, surprisingly. But we'll just have to wait and see when I can get both cars out there. So everybody, it's the end of the day, and we had an amazing time at Ontario Time Attack School. If you want to learn from me or from other amazing instructors, check them out on Instagram, check them out on their website, check them out on Motorsport Reg. We'd love to have you out. Back to the BRZ. And so whether you go with the base, the Sportec, or the TS, you can't go wrong. Personally, I bought the TS because this car is actually going to become my daily driver. I don't really want to modify it very much. I love the look of the Brembos, I like the little bits of STI styling, and I felt like the extra money was worth what you get. And so the white one, what's going on with that one? That one is actually getting a full aero package. I'm going to be doing a two-way LSD on it. I'm going to be doing a CAA shifter and a few other things, and that is going to be my full send Time Attack BRZ. Again, this one's just going to be my fun daily. And so I love these cars so much. I know there's the issue of the rev hang, there's the issue of the power steering not quite keeping up, but the recipe of front engine, rear wheel drive, manual with an LSD is not common anymore. And I fear that, you know, over time they're going to go away. You know, cars are getting heavier, they're getting more complicated, and maybe even combustion engines are going away. So own one while you can. If you're thinking about getting a GR86 or a BRZ, you can't go wrong. One thing I will say, and anybody who's looking to buy a Subaru BRZ, make sure that you overfill by half a quart to 1 quart. And that's what all the race teams are doing. As you may know, this car does have oil starvation issues on right-hand turns. Everyone is trying to race to get to a solution, but it seems as though right now a temporary fix is overfilling by half to 1 quart. I wouldn't recommend this for daily driving. However, if you're pushing the car hard with sticky 212ers, pulling a lot of G's in right-hand turns, it might be a good idea to log your oil pressures and overfill again by a half to 1 quart. If you watch all the way to the end, guys, thank you so much for supporting me, and please follow along in my journey with both cars. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one.